Welcome back, guys, once again into the world of The Last of Us Part 2. Today, we're going to be checking out The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered for the PlayStation 5. It officially releases January 19th of this year, so in just a couple of days from the date of you guys watching this video. A massive thank you to my good friends over at PlayStation for providing me an early free copy of the remastered version of The Last of Us Part 2. In this video, we're going to be checking out specifically the lost levels, which are basically levels that never made it into the original full product of the game. So I'm really excited about that. The game also does come with No Return, which is a mode, which is basically a survival-ish mode that has boss fights and stuff like that, which is something that we're going to be taking a deeper dive later on in another video, possibly later on today. And then, of course, I also plan on checking out some of the main story with the improved fidelity as far as graphics go and stuff. There is also new feedback on the controller when you're playing, which is really nice. And obviously, there's other stuff that you guys can look into or possibly will kind of run across here within this video. But I'm really pumped. Thank you all so much for joining me. This is by far one of my all-time greats. This game paired up with the first one, it's an absolute must-play and an incredible experience. And so I've played this game more times than I'd care to admit. But here we are again, doing it all over. So it seems like you can also change the instruments. You can purchase different instruments with points that you get from completing things within the game itself. I know there's going to be a lot of musicians that are going to go crazy over this. I clearly do not know how to play any of this, but I'm just simply showing you guys. Let me go ahead and just purchase one of these just to see. That is so cool. Wow, that is super cool. So we also have here the FX pedals and the depth, the speed. I'm not sure what that's all about. You also have fall, winter, spring, summer. Possibly like presets. Character. You can change characters. You've got Joel and Ellie. Gustavo. Wow. What? That is so cool. So for those of you who don't know who Gustavo is, he's basically the one responsible for composing music within The Last of Us. And yeah, he also copyrighted some of my episodes in the past. So I'm not going to mess with him too much, all right? Just in case. You can also change the location, which, I mean, this is super cool. The depth of field. I mean, just things that you don't even need, but they just include them anyways. That is so cool. All right. So for those of you that enjoy this, congratulations. Have a blast. That's pretty sweet. All right. Let's go ahead and head over to extra. Or was it making of? Yes. Lost levels. So we've got Jackson party. Ellie nervously attends a party in Jackson. We've got Seattle sewers. Ellie is swept into the Seattle sewer system, and the hunt. Ellie follows a trail of blood to an abandoned general store. That sounds like fun. So we'll start off with the Jackson party. I think that, yep, we could do that. Developer commentary. I think I want to do that because I feel like this is more of a sort of reactions video while we play the Lost Levels, but I kind of want to hear the developer commentary as well.
You're about to play an unfinished level from The Last of Us Part 2. The reason we added this section is there are a few sequences, and we picked the 3 of the best ones, that we cut from the game. You know, often we build a game that's much bigger than what ends up being the final product. They were months away from being finished, but we wanted to give you an insight of what it's like when we built the game, because often we have this whole thing constructed and it doesn't have final art or audio or dialogue. And here you get to see the building blocks of what it's like when we first string a bunch of these levels together. This is the intro to the first deleted level, and this one is the roughest of the 3. We wanted to show more of how Jackson operates. So this is the festival where Ellie ultimately kisses Dina. This sequence would have come very late in the game as a flashback sequence while you're in the farm with Dina. And we wanted to show what is the rest of Jackson doing, and wanted to put on the stick, make it interactive. So you could see when you're outside, there are all these almost like carnival games that you can play. You could mix drinks, you could play with these kids that are playing a sort of clicker Marco Polo, sit down and listen to conversations. And all the different interactions were first or second pass, very, very early passes. The building blocks are there, but nothing is final. And ultimately, while we were very excited by the sequence, it's pretty fun and lighthearted. It just slowed things too much as we're barreling towards the end of the story at this point. So again, reminder, rough, missing audio, missing animation, missing gameplay tweaks, missing dialogue, but pretty representative of what it would have been. So enjoy.
All right, I forgot. There's no dialogue. I was tripping out for a second there. Very interesting. So let me see really quickly what Ellie's face looks like here up close. We are in performance. Let me get a little closer. Let's go over to options and let's do display. I feel like the film grain is also much heavier. Watch this. Regardless, it still looks really good.
Originally, this level was going to transition us to farm. We would go all the way through to the dance, where Ellie and Dina share their first kiss. Then we would play through farm, and when Ellie plays the guitar at night, she would remember the Seth incident. So, the opening for this was a little tricky. We needed it to match at least a little what you might expect emotionally coming from prior beats, because we were already purposefully disorienting you in time and space. Remember, you just came from this huge fight. To jump straight into it would have been a little too jarring. After some back and forth, we rooted it in Ellie's nerves, calling back to her hands shaking in the theater. But this time, for a much more innocuous reason we'll find out later. She's nervous because she has a crush on Dina, who is the only reason why she's here at the dance.
So check out the buildings here. Even that wall there, they've got absolutely zero texture. Isn't that trippy? I don't know. I find that really trippy, especially in this game that we're so used to seeing it when it looks so polished and so nicely done. That's crazy. All right, so we've got one more narrator commentary here.
Something we really wanted to do was highlight the way their lives had turned upside down since she went down this path. We had this idea of recontextualizing all of our usual gameplay mechanics that were designed for really violent ends. The workbench, door bashes, throwable weapons, and even the infected, which is my personal favorite. Peppered throughout the level are moments of levity or shared history, all the while seeing how happy and mundane they all were before her huge revenge odyssey.
So before we head into the party section here of this last level, I was told that there is actually copyright in this section, so I might have to mute some of the background sounds. So if this part of the video sounds a bit off, then just keep that in mind. At least hopefully we'll get to kind of experience or get an idea of what this was like anyways. I'm going to try and go somewhere.
We use our workbench a lot to make a lot of things that kill and maim and hurt people. Here, we had the silly idea of using the same feel, harkening back to the same animations, using the exact same UI to instead fix a drink. Like the workbench, you could pick your base and then you could add something to it. And at the time, we had some different reactions from Ellie based on how strong you chose to make the drink. Something we wanted to prototype though, before it got cut, was picking up some ingredients around to add, like a lime or maybe a bottle of someone's favorite whiskey or salt, like you were earning upgrades. We also toyed with having Ellie carry around the drink you made and occasionally sip it, psyching herself up to go talk to Dina inside because she's nervous. It got too noodly though, because she would need to keep placing it somewhere before she did anything, so it would have ended up more trouble than it was worth. The makeup artist is pretty simple. It's one of those little in-game scenes we peppered in to make it feel like Ellie had roots in the town. Hallie, our writer, mentioned that in her mind, an ex-girlfriend of Ellie's tattooed her arm to cover up her scar. So we figured this might be the only time you get to see that. We wanted to hint at it and allude to it and make it feel like there had been so much more that had been happening and so much more that Ellie threw away.
So obviously the actual drawing is not going to be there because it's not a finished level, but I get the gist of it. This is also right here before we go over there. Actually, you know what? Let's do that first since we're talking about it already. This is that one thing that we saw in social media that these little kids are supposed to be clickers.
This is one of my favorite sections because I think that it achieves both the slice of life aspect of Jackson while also being a stark reminder of how dark the world that they live in really, really is. To attract attention and curiosity, one of the kids was supposed to make this adorable, messed up little clicker impression, and the others would giggle. We tried a version where if you got close enough, the kid might try and follow you a little before turning back. Since clickers are blind and move by echolocation, for this game of messed up tag, Ellie must close her eyes and listen for when the children give themselves away. The thought was that these kids are in relative safety. They still grow up with the dangers of clickers and runners, and all those lessons would embed themselves in the games that they play. When the festival got cut, they tried to preserve this moment and move it to the front of the game where the snowball fight is, as a tutorial. However, being in the headspace of a clicker doesn't really teach you how to deal with them. Eventually, it evolved, and they instead made the snowball fight, which was, I think, way more effective. For me, it's character illuminating that not only does Ellie know this game, she plays along. There's a familiarity with the kids that's really nice to see, especially because it's such a difference from the Ellie we see later, who has a sort of hollow normalcy that she's trying to get with JJ, but kind of fails. It is not a festival without one of these throwing games. This one, of course, uses our throwable system where you're often chucking explosive things or stunning things, but for a more wholesome purpose, although some people take this game really seriously. A fun aspect of this is if you did well, you could win a toy here. Ellie would place it in her pocket. If you had done this, you'd find the toy with JJ, the baby, later back at the farm. When we cut this, the toy made it through anyway because it was so cute. It is the same one you see on the tractor at the farm. Ollie the elephant.
That is really cool. And there you could just kind of sit there on the log, I suppose. I'm just not trying to get too close to that music.
There's a hidden spot at the back that was just a bit of fun. It was highlighting Jackson's normalcy with something we would find in a real world. In the back, you would find teenagers finding some alone time with each other in a dark corner of a party. It was rewarding the player for peeking into a hidden corner, but ultimately redirecting them back to the festival. We also had versions of them smoking weed here, despite Maria's consternation, probably having gotten it from Eugene.
So I think that's it. Once you're done, you come here, and I believe you just go back inside. Yeah. There's Tommy. That was really cool. I mean, that was actually kind of short-lived. I don't think that would have affected anything too much. It wasn't like it dragged or was too long, but I understand. And it's cool because they kind of took parts from this and just added it to the game. I feel like more games should do this because it's true what they said at the beginning. A lot of these games are oftentimes so much bigger and longer, and then things have to get cut if you really want the whole full product to be as best and as enjoyable as possible. And I can totally understand that, because that sometimes happens with videos. Like sometimes you'll see a YouTuber make a video that's an hour and 50 minutes, and sometimes that video is actually an hour, 2 hours and 30 minutes, and there's just a lot of cutting, a lot of dead time. Anyways, Seattle Sewers. Let's check this out. I'm gonna keep the commentary. I love it.
In this second deleted level, which is an extended sequence of the sewers in Seattle, this comes on the heels of where Ellie goes into a building and she survives an attack by stalkers and gets thrown out of a window and gets swept away by the current. And then we cut this section that used to be there in the final game. Now you will get to play it. So this was a way to get a bit more interesting puzzles, interesting traversal, figure out how Ellie can navigate the sewers with the fighting current. Ultimately, with a lot of these levels and these sequences, the reason why we cut them were for pacing purposes. But here it is for you in this very kind of raw form that part of it will feel finished, parts of it will feel like assets are missing as far as audio, animation won't be final, but it's a glimpse into what a game looks like when it's months away from finishing. Enjoy.
Wow.
Get off of me!
Okay, we got dialogue here. Oh, this is good. Not on the nipple. This is exactly what he was talking about, fighting the current. Wow. Man, this game just looks so good. This is not even a finished product per se.
Fuck Seattle. Okay. Where the hell am I?
All right, so we've got a couple of commentators. We've got our weapons. I haven't played in a while, so obviously this is all feeling a bit weird and strange until I
The ladder
play
acts
for
as
a
an
while.
immediate goal for the player, but being able to climb out is not going to be so easy. To keep levels interesting and engaging, we alternate between positive and negative values the player experiences. Here, it's a positive to have found a ladder, but then a negative to discover it's not the solution. But then another positive to identify the next short-term goal of the doorway. By alternating between these opposing values, we give players what they expect, but not how they expect it.
Fucking kidding me.
Okay, so the ladder's broken. I didn't even look up there.
Okay. There's gotta be another way out.
I feel like I can see the... Oh, shit. I feel like I can see the film grain a lot more here on the PlayStation 5 version for some reason. I'm just thinking out loud.
This level, internally known as Find Nora, was quite long in duration as we had to make Ellie traverse a far distance to the opposite side of downtown Seattle. The sewer section was originally longer than what we released the game with, approximately 10 minutes more. This was one of the few areas of the game that used water flow as part of a traversal puzzle. The player has to go upstream to use the current to get to the platform to reach the other side. We mostly cut this mechanic game-wide, however it remained in essence in the section swimming to the aquarium as Ellie when you were avoiding the waves. When players reach the doorway and enter into the room, they are faced with a dead end. The real reason for this dead end room is that on the reversal when exiting back out of the doorway, players are faced with the route onwards. A pipe that they'd not been able to see when they were swept past it on the way in, and something that was hidden from view when on the side platforms. The intention here being that the only option is to go off the standard path in order to search for a way out.
Okay, so maybe just go that way. Let's go ahead and jump. Perfect.
Get me the hell out of here.
Throughout the rest of the level, we also used light to indicate to the player that they were heading in the right direction. At each turn, however, we blocked the direct route forward. Players would know that they just have to keep finding alternative paths, promoting those feelings of being desperate and trapped. We slowly introduced the player to consider climbing into smaller pipes and crouching in these
Up
tight
and out.
spaces. This is to slowly
Keep going
build
up
up
and
to
out.
and encourage the player to climb into such a small pipe that they'd have to be crawling on their stomach, which is something that the player previously may not have recognised as a playable space, let alone the desired route they need to take.
Do I have to go down there?
We added a tiny space just to reward the player's exploration with a pickup item, and we made sure it was something that made sense that you'd find in this area. A canister and all the garbage that had been washed into the sewers from the surface.
Oh. Okay. Little pointless spot there. I like it. Again, that area doesn't have to serve any purpose. Just like that. Just carry a couple of items and that's that. It just adds to the whole experience.
We loved the idea of making Ellie prone through a tiny, dirty pipe in order to get out, as it was a great opportunity to use our prone
Shirley.
mechanic. A unique camera setup was created to support crawling in these pipes, as the standard prone camera is much higher above the player. We also created custom collision in order for Ellie to manoeuvre in these tight spaces easily. Initially, the oblong collision capsule around her character caused issues crawling around corners. We put extra effort into the custom corner collision, so the movement experience is as smooth as the main game.
Wow.
In order for the player to feel cramped, claustrophobic and desperate, we'd been enforcing the traversal mechanics that allow for a tight environment which promote these feelings. We introduced the use of the squeeze through so that we can keep the player feeling enclosed and tight, but without repeating the same geometry. Here we changed from low ceilings with wider walls to high ceilings and tight walls to change up the spatial pacing and keep the level from repeating itself.
Wow. It's crazy. You realize how much thought goes into every little aspect of these games and the levels.
Shitty place to die.
Oh, that's cool. We've got another commentary here.
Originally, we had the water line much higher here, so players had to swim through this tight tunnel. However, from watching user test feedback, it was occasionally causing people to discount the route entirely and turn back on themselves.
Huh.
So to avoid any risk of this happening in the final game, we present a lower water level so the tunnel is easy to see and commit to using. Although this isn't as impactful without the prone swim, it's the better decision as it means a smoother experience for the player with no backtracking frustration. We draw the player towards this pipe as it is seemingly the route out of the tight space. Fairly soon it is obvious that this path is blocked. If the player goes all the way up to the bars that block the path, they are rewarded with a pickup so this journey doesn't feel wasted. It was important to encourage the player to try to progress along this path so that they would subtly be thinking of progress in this direction. We hint to the player that there is a bigger, new space beyond this pipe by showing the player the waterfall. This helps players consider the other route where they don't know how far the tunnel is or whether they'd make it.
Dude, that's actually crazy. So they just put a little thing there, like a piece of item for you to pick up, just for the sole purpose of you not feeling like you just wasted time going there.
As we surface from the water and over the crest of the slope, we reveal what is further in this tunnel. A clicker that has sprouted and the fungus has grown on the sides of the pipe. It was great to see people who user tested this area becoming increasingly worried as we forced the player to squeeze past the fungus and inches away from the clicker's face, all the time not being sure whether the clicker might be alive or attack them. Although we aren't as cruel as to force a clicker attack in such close proximity, we do have a payoff for this moment. This clicker momentarily turned into Joel to show Ellie's PTSD from what happened to Joel at the start of the game. Ultimately, we decided to save this moment for the farm level, as it was more impactful there because it could become the centrepiece of that experience. Whereas in the sewers, we weren't able to make it as much of a narrative point and give it the breathing room and reaction time that it deserves, given the tight space.
Oh, that's ballsy. That's fucked up. No! No! You assholes! Why would you do that? Oh my god! Oh my gosh!
Shit!
Wow. Hold on, there's a, no, no. No, actually, I can come over here. Never mind.
For the final section, we eventually opened you out into a wider area as you traverse through such tight spaces leading up to this. So changing the environmental pacing makes it begin to feel like we're coming to the end of Ellie's ordeal. An earlier iteration used the current that we'd shown at the start for a slightly tougher traversal puzzle to conclude the sewers. The ladder was clearly visible from most of the area, but the player was faced with a fast-flowing torrent of water they couldn't cross. If the player attempted to jump into the water, they were not able to swim across the ladder due to the water's speed. So instead, they had to traverse the pipe running along the top of the space in order to get across the water.
Okay, so that's locked. There's no current here, so we can... Alright, sweet. Let's check up here. Oh, no! That's the pipe you talked about.
Using this pipe was retained in the iteration we shipped with, as it's the last of the extreme methods Ellie has to undergo in order to escape the sewers, and what she will go through in her pursuit of revenge.
Wow. What an incredible team over at Naughty Dog. Oh, gosh. They are incredible.
The last ladder climb is quite lengthy, and although we could have trimmed it down to a shorter climb, we liked how this last segment of the journey built anticipation for whether there was success at the top or not after all you've been through. Ultimately, the ladder exits out into the subway station, which is how it connects in the final game. Ellie then has to find her way to the hospital from here, crossing paths with the scars for the first time.
Okay. I actually like this little spot. I mean, obviously, I don't know if these things would have been made into roaches and shit. Ugh. If these things would have been made longer, but so far the lost levels are not really that long, so I wouldn't have minded this being into the, you know, rotation of levels and things we had to do.
The last ladder climb is quite lengthy.
Oh, sorry.
And although we could have trimmed it down to a shorter climb, we liked how this last segment of the journey built anticipation for whether there was success at the top or not after all you've been through. Ultimately, the ladder exits out into the subway station, which is how it connects in the final game. Ellie then has to find her way to the hospital from here, crossing paths with the scars for the first time.
Did I miss one of the dialogue options? I don't know. I feel like I did, unless there's one up here. Oh, I did miss one. Shoot.
For this third and final deleted level, what we call the Boar Hunt sequence, this was a sequence pretty late in the game. It was right after the whole Seattle Abby sequence where Abby spares Ellie. And then we wanted to come back into Ellie's story, but keep it a bit mysterious of how much time has passed, where is Ellie now? So we're coming in on Ellie and she's following a trail of blood. And we wanted to mirror in a way the deer hunt sequence from the first game, but this time do it with a boar.
Ooh.
And there's something with Ellie that now she can't let go of this violence. She's pursuing it even against this innocent animal. This was another opportunity to show how the violence that Ellie has experienced, the violence that she witnessed being afflicted onto Joel, is still sticking with her, and she's still experiencing these PTSD moments. This was a sequence that was pretty far along and was cut pretty late in production. Parts of it are still really rough, but the gameplay, the building blocks were all there. I think you'll have fun to see, like, again, a rough, unfinished sequence that you can play. You can see all the way to the end, and including a cinematic that we end up cutting. And the remnants of the sequence ended up being mentioned in Ellie's journal.
Oh.
So this part of the story that we developed still made its way into the game as kind of optional stuff that you could read about.
I remember
but
that.
You get to experience it. So as a reminder, this is pretty rough, months away from being finished, but you get to see it now.
I remember reading that in the diary. Yeah. What? Oh, this is sick. This is her already.
Where are you?
Just look at her facial expressions, bro. Like, fuck. So real. This is cool, man. Yo, we need some DLC. We really do.
So the Boar Hunt was one of the hardest levels for me to work on. It was a huge challenge with the systems that we had, and we kept trying, but it never felt quite right. Originally, the level happened after the Jackson Festival, which also got cut, but before Farm. Once the festival got cut, it became the prologue to Farm. The intended experience is that we jump forward in time after the fight with Abby in the theater. We don't know where Dina is. We likely assume she's dead because she was just bleeding out. Ellie is alone. Her hair is short. So maybe this is the future or the present. And she's hunting. Hunting who? Abby still?
Love it, dude.
In early iterations of the fight, it was more arena-like. The player slowly whittles down the boar's health. Ellie gets more visceral and more vicious. We get a little worried about her. As the boar gets weaker, more panicked, more feral, and we start feeling sympathetic to the boar, was the hope. In all of these iterations, especially of these wider areas, it required custom AI and scripting to make sure it continued to feel organic as an animal, but we really needed it to do specific stuff. It needed to be able to close distances really, really quickly. It needed to charge to attack, but we wanted the feeling of hunting, so we needed to track it down from afar. And we also needed to discourage the player from attacking the boar when it's that close, or it would kind of turn into this melee kerfuffle. How do we do this in our world while keeping the boar believable?
Wow. All right, so I just went through like 3 little areas. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything.
We must have gone through 5 or 6 iterations of the boar fight and all, and every single time it changed pretty drastically. We split it into clear phases, where one was like all long range. We tried another where you're getting close and you get the jump on it quite literally. You're jumping off of a rock to attack it. And then finally, we tried a bunch where you almost sort of go around a bunch of trailers and try and wrestle it. We uncovered after some time that taking down a boar over several phases felt very laborious and a little dramatic. It was comically long. It felt too boss-like, a little too gamey. We decided to cut the first few phases, and we opted for a cold open after the boar had already been hurt off screen. So that allowed us to focus on feeling like we're closing in on prey and to introduce the boar when it was at its most dangerous. Already hurt, already feral, much too close for comfort. And so the thinking was it would bring us more into Ellie's mindset. Is this really hunting for food, or is she hunting for some other reason?
Wow, bro, that's genius. Like, yikes. Like me, like I'm not a game dev or anything, but me, I would have probably included the whole boar sequence, and yeah, something that you can easily do, and it just drags on forever. And it's just the thought process behind everything that this game or these games have done, the way Naughty Dog has done them, that just makes them special.
The gas station was built to highlight the boar's destructiveness. Since it's cramped, the boar feels larger. We also feel trapped with it, though perhaps it's trapped with us. When it charges, it gets to us quickly, so we must be on our toes. This made it more aligned with Ellie's sort of hunting for trouble mindset. Listening became more important, as well as moving around slowly so it didn't hear you. Could you spot it before it saw or heard you? And could you get a shot off quickly enough so you could dodge out of the way? Or is the shot worth the cost after? It feels like a gamble. By the end of the fight, everything would likely be in shambles. The boar would burst through the back, and Ellie would follow it and finally enact revenge.
Okay. I can't see shit.
Fuck. Yo, it's huge. Press square while aiming. Alright, so we've got some supplies. This is so cool. What was the melee button? Oh, God. There it is. I can see it. Oh, shit. Oh, I can't jump. Oh, my God. Oh, that's awesome. What the hell? Wait, I got some health here. Again, I haven't played in a while, so I gotta remember the controls. Here we go. It's right there. Oh no.
It's over.
Damn.
Nowhere to run.
How do we melee again? Fuck. Forgot. So I was gonna play the main story and record that before going into these lost levels, just to like not be so lost. No pun intended, but whatever. This also reminds me, I think in the first one when we had a memory, was it the first game where Ellie had that memory with Joe that he took her to the like the amusement park or whatever, or was it the? No, it was actually the second one. There was like a boar inside the dinosaur museum, or
The boar kill
I don't remember.
was supposed to be anything but glorious. With the boar whimpering at the back of the gas station after Ellie's relentless hunt. After this, hearing the drone that we kind of come to associate with Ellie's trauma, we would hard cut to the stream where she's washing her hands and holding rabbits that she hunted, about to return to Dina. And there would be no mention
of the boar. Wow. Oh, that's fucked. Oh, she just looks so upset at everything. Wow. 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 I think that was my favorite one. The hunt. That's pretty cool. So the only one without any spoken dialogue is the Jackson Party. We've got some concept art here. I don't know how much of this is like look at this, all cool. I don't even remember how much of this, if this was even in the original. Probably was. I don't recall. But how cool. Thank God they left Abby like this. Just fit. I guess because we're used to her looking like that. Sick, dude. So sick. Wow. And I don't know if this was in the original, but I don't think I ever purchased any of these. My goodness. Yeah, I did not. Ellie. Some skins. We've got some camos for for the weapons, 2 of which you've got to complete challenges with Ellie and no return. That is pretty cool. And then for Abby as well, we've got some challenges that need to be completed. Oh, that's cool. Huh. No shit. Oh my God. Wow. So 2 challenges per weapon and per skin. Okay. Interesting. All right, so guys, tell you what, I think I'm gonna probably try out No Return on the next video. So please, if you are interested in that and want to check out my perspective, keep it locked to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. Again, a massive thank you to PlayStation for providing me a free early copy to this The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. Really appreciate it. And thank you, most importantly, for always coming back, hanging out, watching, and please let me know what you think. The lost levels, do you think any of those should have been included in the game, or do you think it would have dragged it out too much? I enjoyed that, but we will be back. So hopefully I'll catch you guys on the next one.